So this is Joy News Desk with me, MFA Akosiadeti. Now, first on our story today, members of Parliament on the ticket of the opposition National Democratic Congress say there are moves by government to deploy soldiers to Parliament on Tuesday. This follows tension in Parliament over who is the majority after the Speaker declared 4 seats vacant, but same was stayed by the Supreme Court. We'll hear from the caucus chief whip in a bit. First, here is a report by our Parliamentary Affairs correspondent, Kweku Asante.
On Thursday, Speaker of Parliament Alban Bagbin delivered a ruling, or what some have said was a declaration, that effectively made the NDC group in Parliament the majority caucus in the House. But 24 hours after that, the Supreme Court ruled to stay the execution of that ruling by the Speaker of Parliament. The NDC MPs, however, say that the Speaker of Parliament did no wrong and they will resist any plan to push them back into the minority.
For the avoidance of doubt, the Speaker's decisions to declare the 4 seat vacant is lawful exercise of his responsibilities derived from the 1992 Constitution and the Standing Orders of Parliament. The effect of the Speaker's declaration is that currently we no longer have an independent member of Parliament. The MPP has 135 members of Parliament only. The NDC has 136 members of Parliament, and there is no second Deputy Speaker of Parliament. We will jealously protect our new majority status and will not bow, retreat, nor surrender our lawfully earned status.
Dr. Cassia Latofosin, who is the NDC leader in Parliament, has been announcing the plans that the NDC group have if they stay in the majority, including to repeal the e-levy and the betting tax.
It is indeed true that we will use our new majority numbers to benefit Ghanaians by introducing private members' bill to remove the e-levy and to reduce the suffering of the people of Ghana. Yes. It is also true that we will use our new majority to remove the betting tax and other nuisance taxes. Yes. We stand with him, pledge our support, and urge him to protect the dignity and sanctity of the Parliament of Ghana. In the same vein, we call on Ghanaians to stand by the Speaker and resist oppressors' rule. From day one, we have not reneged on our fight for the people of Ghana.
When asked specifically about this Supreme Court ruling, Mahama Yariga, the NDC MP for Boku Central, says, until and unless the Speaker of Parliament comes to the floor and informs them that that is the new course of action, they will still consider themselves as the majority.
We are not aware of any law or any constitutional provision that enables anybody to suspend a decision of the Speaker in Parliament properly constituted. Be that as it may, we as parliamentarians act on the basis of communication coming to us from the Speaker. We don't hear things in the news and act on them, or cite copies of records of proceedings in any court on social media and act on them. We act on the basis of communication coming to us from the Right Honorable Speaker. And if that communication says we should walk into the sea, we walk into the sea, because we listen only to the Speaker and nobody else in relation to the integrity, the legality, and the appropriateness of what has happened in the chamber of Parliament.
On Tuesday, the House is set to resume after it adjourned last Thursday, and it's going to be a showdown because both sides are now carrying themselves as the majority in Parliament. But of course, the majority can't only be one side, and it is only one side that can sit on the right-hand side of the Speaker. But with both the NDC and the NPP pushing themselves onto that right side, it is left to be seen what exactly is going to happen then, with even claims now from the NDC MPs that certain soldiers are set to be deployed to the precincts of Parliament on Tuesday when the House resumes. Reporting for Joy News, Kweku Asante, Parliament House, Accra.
Now listen to MP for Adaklu and Chief Whip of the NDC caucus, Kwame Agbodza, who says that they will resist any attempt to deploy the soldiers to Parliament.
If you notice, on that fateful day of the beginning of this Parliament, it was government that ordered the military and the police to enter the chamber and assault members of Parliament. Indeed, my colleague, Honorable, our colleague, filed a motion for those individuals, of which we have details of those military officers and what they did in the chamber. But I can guarantee you it's not yet sunset on those issues. Just to add, we are aware that between yesterday and today, some elements of government have had a meeting again to deploy the military to the precincts of Parliament to enter the tent. We are aware of that. We can just ask those around the Accra Sports Stadium that at a point in time tomorrow, they repeat the same misconduct. We can guarantee them the people of this country are sovereign. If you wear a military uniform or police uniform, you work to the Constitution. But they should be aware that the life of this government is less than 2 months. They will have to account for their conduct in 2020 and whatever they do tomorrow. But they shouldn't be surprised the people of this country would react forcefully to any misconduct of anybody in uniform on Tuesday and beyond.
Now let's speak to a member of the NPP in Parliament, Dr. Dixon Adomako Kisi, who is the MP for Anyasotum, and also a little later will be joined by Ishaq Ibrahim, who is a senior lecturer at the UPSA Law School. Hi, good morning.
Yes, good morning.
Thank you for joining us, Honorable, this morning.
Pleasure is mine.
Okay, so yesterday you must have surely followed the conversations by the NDC and their position on what the Supreme Court had said on Friday. Now, what's your initial position? Today is Monday, it's working day. What's your position?
So one key thing, I really want to ask my NDC people that if a player for one team signs a contract for the future, maybe from Real Madrid to, let's say, Man U, would you stop the player when they are playing for their current team and then say that because they've signed a future contract, they should leave the pitch? I mean, I think this is the simplest argument I can make to ordinary Ghanaians who watch a lot of soccer. And I think that the question still holds that shall we punish members of Parliament who have arranged for a different sitting arrangement in the future today? That is what this is all about. And truth be told, though Supreme Court has made some directives, a lot rests on the Speaker to agree or disagree, and then the consequences will follow after that. But I think that as it stands now, since we've not sat in Parliament after the Supreme Court ruling, we'll have to wait and see if the Speaker will comply. But one key thing, though, I think that every public official who holds an office wields power not necessarily for them, but for the people. And in that regard, our decisions ought to be made on very sound and logical decisions. In concluding, I think that the Speaker's decision literally is political. And for that matter, I think it is still wrong. And I hold to that opinion that it is wrong to punish somebody for changing their club, now for a future arrangement. And that really is the question. And I think that in some years to come, any of the four can sue, Parliament with regards to vacating them, in an unconstitutional way. And
okay.
that is the future we're looking at.
I've just heard you mention the Constitution. I'm not too sure whether the Constitution was quite ambiguous as to whether it is futuristic, especially because you're just opposing that scenario to the football scenario that you just gave. Was there any form of ambiguity in that provision in the Constitution?
Well, the argument is that when we joined the 8th Parliament, and let me reference us to Inusa Hussaini, at that time when he came to Parliament, an NDC member decided during that parliamentary, era to change parties. So when you change parties during like the 8th Parliament, if you are changing to go independent or to go to NDC or MPP, then I agree that you should vacate like we did with Quayson. Quayson, we became informed that he could no longer be a member of Parliament. His seat was vacated, and then he went through the middle and came back on the NDC ticket. So if in the 8th Parliament, any of us at some point in time during the 8th had decided that we will either go independent or switch to NDC for business in the 8th Parliament, then I agree with the Speaker that, you can let the person vacate. But how can a Speaker of the 8th make a decision concerning the 9th, which he would not necessarily superintend? I mean, two wrongs never make a right. And I believe that in some, essence, precedence matters. Yes, I agree. But, if the precedence is based on wrong assumptions, or if the precedent was wrong, shall we then meter out the injustice further down the chain? No.
Which one of the precedents are you citing? Which one? Are you still citing the Inusa Hussaini? Okay, Professor Michael
Senior took a decision to exit or vacate the Fomena MP, which I think today the Fomena MP even still has a right to file a suit for vacating him unceremoniously or prematurely when he had a few more weeks to represent the good people of Fomena. And anything done to one member of Parliament is not just the parliamentary member, but the people he represents. And I really think that we ought to be particularly careful about the rights of members of Parliament. If a soccer player can change clubs and not be, taken off the field because he changed the club, then why are we doing this to our own members of Parliament? Even in the Constitution, the beautiful thing is that two parties can join, and if you are on two parties ticket or any of the parties that have joined ticket, you will not be, suffering from the brunt of this, enactment, because it's a future thing. You understand? And where does it? This is a Kwekwanan's story where the father meters out justice to a son for a car he's yet to buy, just because the son is dreaming to drive the car. I mean, this works in the Kwekwanan's farm, but we are using, very logical ways to make decisions. And I believe that if the decision is about the 8th Parliament, that members have decided to change, their status about the 8th Parliament, then it's a just punishment. But this is not about the 8th, and we shouldn't be, what if the decision is to go independent in the 10th Parliament? Then what about that? Would you then meter out the same justice today? If I discuss with the Speaker that, Mr. Speaker, respectfully, in the 10th Parliament, I, Dr. Adman, will be running on the ticket of the MPP or the ticket of the NDC or independent. Would you then meter this out to me and vacate my seat today? No. And I also think that in sincerity, as the Speaker waited for the court to inform him that Quayson was no more an MP, or EC informed him and he agreed, he should have also allowed really, these processes to unfold. Or he could have even just inquired from the High Court that are these MPs, seats to be vacated. And if the, High Court justices, made a comment or an opinion that, members of Parliament who have filed for a future election under a different ticket should no longer do business in the 8th Parliament, then...
Honourable, because you've mentioned the High Court, I'm just going to hold you on the phone for a second and go to Mr. Ishaq Ibrahim, who is a law lecturer. Just give us a bit of clarity. And sir, if you can hear me, thank you for joining us. And so there's this confusion as to whether there is some sort of ambiguity and if there's some sort of human right abuse. And so they should have gone to the High Court, and why did they have to go to the Supreme Court? Please give us some clarity. Did the Speaker indeed have to wait for any form of formality, or what he did was just right per the Constitution?
Good morning to you. Indeed, from my own understanding of this provision, because if you look at Article 97, Clause 1, Subclause G to H, especially when you come towards the end of H, it says if he seeks to remain in Parliament as an independent person. Now, MPP is right to say that seeks to remain means that these current MPs are seeking to remain now. But that's not what they want to do. They are merely expressing their future intentions. And you can infer this from their conduct element. They have filed and they intend to contest the next election as the Electoral Commission have issued notice of poll. So obviously there is some kind of ambiguity. And if you look at a purposeless approach, the whole idea of the evil to cure was not to allow members to cross carpet during the particular parliament. So these people are not seeking to remain on the 8th parliament. They want to come back in the 9th parliament. So obviously there is some kind of the need for a court to interpret that aspect. Whether they should use a purposive approach or they should use the literal approach to this. And also, there is a problem whether the Speaker of Parliament is actually the right person to make the decision. Because if you look at Article 99, Clause 1, Subclause A, it says it's the High Court that has the power to make that decision. If you look at it, if there's a dispute as to whether somebody has vacated a seat in Parliament, it is the High Court that needs to come in. So since these members are not willing to go, or the MPP is insisting that they remain members of the MPP or whatever position they are making, then somebody would need to make that decision. And that person is the High Court. And if you look at Article 99 again, it's a specific provision dealing with Parliament, membership or vacancy in Parliament. Some people say the Speaker has the right to make the decision because of Article 110 that has given Parliament the power to determine its own procedure. If you look at that article, it says procedure. And in law, in constitutional law, we have this particular terminology such as lex specialis. So lex specialis and lex generalis. If there's a specific provision and there's a general provision, the specific provision takes precedence. So I believe that Article 99 takes precedence over Article 113 as far as in determining vacancy in Parliament. Okay. So I believe the decision was wrong for the court to make in the first place. Okay. Now, and again, we also talk about human rights. Okay. So if you look at the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, as well as the International Covenant for Civil and Political Rights, 3 types of rights are recognized there: civil and political rights, economic and social rights, and also group rights. Again, if you look at the African Charter on Human and People Rights, it recognizes group rights. So as constituents, they are a group of people. And if their rights is violated, i.e. their right for presentation in Parliament, I think it's a human rights issue that is being engaged, as far as group rights is concerned. Okay. Also, a federal marking could have applied on the basis of constituents. And somebody asked, if it is a human rights issue, maybe a member of the constituency should have applied and not a federal marking. And also to the High Court. And also to the High Court. No, but then if it doesn't go to the High Court, the Supreme Court, if you look at Article 130, Article 125. Okay. The judicial power of Ghana shall be vested in the judiciary. Accordingly, neither the President nor Parliament nor any organ or agency of the President or Parliament shall have or be given the final judicial power. So if he goes to, because he was looking for a stay of execution, And I think going to the Supreme Court, the Supreme Court have overwhelming power. So even if you're not going to the High Court, the decision to be made as to whether the people rightfully vacate Parliament or not, yes, is the High Court. But the Supreme Court has overriding supervision power over all organs in Ghana as far as the Constitution is concerned. I think going to the Supreme Court wasn't a bad thing to do.
Okay.
It was the right place.
Please help me here. Two things again. So the substantive matter that Honorable Afenyo-Markin took to the Supreme Court will then be what? For him to go and seek the stay of execution. What then is the substantive matter that he took to the Supreme Court? So the
substantive matter would be, I think the right way it would have been was, the initial point should have been the High Court. And the High Court will cease with the matter to determine whether the members have actually vacated Parliament. Yes. But I believe there would have been an interpretation issue. Okay. Because two parties are arguing as to whether what fixed to remain really means. Okay. The High Court would have ordered for a stay. Okay. Then ask the Supreme Court to interpret that aspect. Then the High Court would then apply. Okay. But then he doesn't. So he went to the Supreme Court for interpretation alone. Yes. Actually, because this is an urgent matter, going to the Supreme Court, and as we said, the Constitution has given the Supreme Court overwhelming supervision jurisdiction over all organs in the country. Okay. My final question will be that seeking an ex parte application will then allow the Supreme Court to give you 10 days so that you put the other parties on notice. What are some of the reasons that the Supreme Court can give more than 10 days? Because this matter, they give 14 days to hear the substantive matter. That side, I don't know why the Supreme Court have done that. I'm yet to find the exact reason. Okay. Yes, usually it's 10 days, of which the other party should be able to challenge. So what I'll probably ask the current minority, which is the NDC, I believe with the order of this Supreme Court, they remain minority. They could also go to court and ask the court possible to set it aside. And then that will be the basis. So not putting it 10 days is not necessarily mean the minority is prevented from going to court. Okay. They could still go to court and say ex parte, this decision was made against us and wants a review of it. And I think they should be able to go to court. Does the Speaker have any power to ignore the ruling or the decision from Supreme Court? Does he have any, is he clothed in any form of power at all? No, he's not. You see, our Constitution is built around the supremacy of the Constitution. And the supremacy of the Constitution, yes, allows for separation of powers, but ultimately with the rule of law. And under the Constitution, it is the Supreme Court that have the last say. And in fact, if the Speaker of Parliament actually disobey, they're actually violating the Constitution. If you look at Article 2 of the 1992 Constitution, it's made very, very clear. And with your permission, I would like to read it. Yes, a person who alleges that subclause A, an enactment or anything contained in or done under the authority of that or any other enactment, or any act or omission of any person is inconsistent or is in contravention of the provision of this Constitution, may bring an action in the Supreme Court for a declaration to that effect. It said the Supreme Court shall, for the purpose of declaration under clause 1 of this article, make such orders and give such direction as it may consider appropriate for giving effect or enable effect to be given to the declaration so made. And clause 3 is really interesting. That tells you that there are penalties attached for anybody who disobeys. Clause 3, subclause 3 says, any person or group of persons to whom an order or direction is addressed under clause 2 of this article by the Supreme Court shall duly obey and carry out the terms of the order or directions. Okay. And then it attached penalty. Failure to obey or carry out the terms of an order or direction made or given under this clause 2 of this article constitute a high crime under this Constitution and shall, in the case of the President or the Vice President, constitute a ground for removal under this Constitution. Thank you. So, thank you. That's quite a clear provision, yes. Thank you. Thank you. It's quite a developing matter, and today's Monday. We look forward to
Parliament reconvening tomorrow and see how it happens. If I still have the Member of Parliament online, I want to find out what the MPP's position is as of today. If Honourable is still on. Hello, Honourable. Hi, Honourable, if you can hear me.
As far as I know,
okay.
Honourable Afenyo-Martins is the majority leader.
Okay.
And that is where we hold ourselves.
Did you see the allegations by the NDC that just maybe military has been deployed to Parliament tomorrow? Are you able to confirm or deny?
I must say that the MPP believes in the rule of law, and we will all conduct ourselves appropriately.
Okay.
And I don't see how any unnecessary force will be used on Tuesday.
Okay.
We are men, and women who pride ourselves in letting ideas talk more than guns. So I think hopefully by midnight today, some clarity in terms of Supreme Court's decision, and the Speaker also, under the advice of his legal team, will arrive at a very agreeable decision, which I think many Ghanaians will be looking at to make a decision about the future. So in conclusion, I really think that the rights of individuals who can change association at any point in time is under attack. And this is an opportunity for people to look at it that way. Members of Parliament are not clogged with one party forever. At some point in time, we are at liberty to change, parties if need be.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ademako. Thank you for speaking to us. All right, now moving on to the next story. Now, more than 28,000 workers in 68 public organizations working under the Public Sector Workers Union are set to begin a nationwide strike owing to failure of government to fulfill specific sector allowances to their members, now who have been migrated onto a single spine salary structure. Now, the group says it has since 2010 been working to ensure that its members are properly catered for under the structure, but to no avail. Now, Bernard J. is General Secretary of the Public Sector Workers Union and has joined us via Zoom. Hello. Hello, Mr. J. Thank you for joining us. If you can hear me, you kindly have...
I can hear you.
Oh, perfect, perfect. So tell us about the strike. Are you striking today?
Thank you very much, my sister. Yes, we are already on strike today. The notice was issued earlier in September. Fair Wages quickly called us. We had some understanding, and last Monday, we were not getting any positive feedback from them. So we reactivated our strike. We did a presser on Monday, and by the end of the week, Friday, as at Friday, they have not addressed our issues. So from this morning,
I'm sorry, I hope that it's not the internet that's giving up on me. Can you hear me, Mr. J? Okay, we're trying to bring you up to speed onto the strike that's supposed to be happening today already, but if you're back online, Mr. J, hello.
Yes, I'm back online.
Perfect. Yeah. So does the NLC have any role? Have you put them on notice? Because I understand that you do not have to seek permission from the NLC, but at some point you have to put them in notice. Have you?
Definitely. Our communication was copied to the NLC as well. I have the letter right here in front of me. Okay. And we have copied the NLC as well. So to the best of our knowledge, we have copied the appropriate bodies in this letter.
What form is this strike taking? Is it that you're sitting down at home, or you're performing a total strike, or you're doing certain activities and not all of it? Please explain.
Well, we are not doing any activity because of the urgency and critical nature of the issues or matters at stake. Of course, our intention is not destroy any public organizations or service. So there may be one or two organizations that, depending on the discussions between our executives in that organization and the management, there may be some. But the general decision by the structures of the union. The structures met, and this decision is not my decision sitting in my capacity as General Secretary, but the leadership of the union in all these organizations have agreed that the way they have been treated on issues concerning their salaries, the public sector salaries, and then their institution-specific allowances are not right, and therefore we should proceed on this action until our concerns are addressed. Again, confirm to me, so you say that from 2010? You're saying that from 2010 is the institution of the single spine, as we all know, and there were certain understanding or principles on which the single spine was built. But we all remember that in the year 2022, organized labor and government, we had the National Labor Conference, at which conference we all agreed that the single spine has failed to address the concerns that gave rise to its implementation in 2010, i.e. To address issues of pay inequities, low salaries, and proper salary administration in the public sector, and harmonization of allowances. So way back as at April 2022, March 2022, when we had the National Labor Conference, it was agreed that the single spine has failed, and therefore it needed to be reviewed. It was supposed to be reviewed within 3 months after that National Labor Conference. My sister, we are in October 2024. Our understanding is that the committee had completed its work, but the report is nowhere to be found. Nobody is telling anybody anything, despite inquiries as to what was going on and the need for us to do that, because the public sector salaries are very low and the problems and challenges we have are still there. Rather, what we see government do is to isolate some public sector organizations, do new salary structures. Do you have the names of these public sector organizations that the government has isolated? And, you know, do you have the names of these public sector? No, I mean, all the public, we have several public sector unions in the public sector. What we know for a fact that the institution-specific allowance for some of them have been reviewed. Okay. Whereas that of the PSW, some institutions have not been reviewed. Okay. And we have submitted proposals, and I have the documents and things for some of the organizations to show for that. As far back as 2022, 2021, 2023, and I mean, they call you for meetings, you don't conclude, they stop as if they are not aware you exist. If you start shouting, then they call you again, just to show that they are engaging you. Mr. J, how long are you striking? How long are you hoping to strike? Well, for now, the decision is that until our issues are addressed. And there are issues that can be addressed. Okay. And the earlier they sit with us to resolve the issues, the better. But leaving us and granting allowances to other public institutions who are in the same service classification, we think it's not the way to go. It is so bad that you can have two workers, the same position, the same job schedules, performing the same duties. One is being given an allowance for the work, the other is being denied an allowance for the work. Thank you, Mr. J, for talking to us. We'll follow the strike actions and see how it goes. Thank you so much. Now, let's talk to my colleague Erastus Asaridonko and his crew, who have been attacked by armed men who claim to be working for Edelmetallum Resources Limited, a mining site at Isumenya, close to Mansunkran in the Ashanti region. Let's speak to Erastus, who has been attacked, and this will not be the first time. Hi, Erastus. Hey. Erastus, how are you feeling? I'm okay. I'm good. Okay. Earlier this morning, I heard you complain about something on your eye. Have you had it checked already? My right eye is a bit hazy, and it has some dark spots. So I'm yet to get it checked by other doctors.
So other doctors have looked at it, but they want me to talk to a specialist. So
okay.
I'll do that later today.
Okay. Erastus, I'm so sorry for what you have been through, and on behalf of all of your colleagues here, we're sympathizing with you. Now tell us exactly what happened, where and how.
Well, so we had gone to the Semanyo Forest Reserve where we had information that a mining company, Edel Metallum, was polluting the streams nearby and also destroying even a restoration project that has been started to restore the forest. So when we went there, we met two young men at the site, and we greeted them and started our job of documenting the devastation on the ground. So it was at this point that they radioed other people to come, because some media men, according to them, have entered the site. So within some few minutes, heavily built men, all armed with pump-action guns and assault rifles, came to the site and took custody of our drone. They also took our camera. They did a body search of us, took away our phones and everything, and then forced us to join our vehicle. One armed person sat behind the driver of our vehicle. Another one sat in the bucket, and we were forced to follow them wherever they were going. In fact, they said the owner of the site wanted to speak with us in the next town. But when we reached the next town, they were still going. So I sought to find out where they are taking us. And that attracted anger from them. They wanted to force my driver out of the vehicle and take over the vehicle, which I objected to. So we had to follow them. We reached a secluded area, and they asked us to come down. And they subjected us to some beating, all four of us. At that point, they deleted footage from our phones. They took the SD card from the drone and the camera, and they took other stuff, the drone batteries, 5 of them, in a bag, and a tablet, and some headphones. And they took it with them and left us there.
Do you have your phone now?
We have our phones back, but we have the drone back, we have the camera back, but the drone batteries, 5 of them, and a tablet, a Lenovo tablet, and some headphones are still with them.
So on the video on our screens now, I see a police officer there. What was happening and what was his role over there?
So this was after we reported the case to the police at Mansour, and they sent some task force, police task force, made up of about 8 armed personnel, to get back to the site to identify them. And this was when we met them, and we actually, we showed the police that these were the people who assaulted us, and they were having verbal exchanges with the police, as you see in the video, and they wouldn't even come with them. They invited them to join the vehicle to the police station. They said they won't come. In the end, none of them was arrested.
Okay. Erastus, do see that doctor, and then we'll check in on you a little later. Guys, do stay with us for more. We'll be back shortly. Hello there, welcome back, and thank you for joining us today on Joy News Desk with me, Emefa Akosia Adeti. There's more on myjoyonline.com.